guys, welcome back to TogetherweR Thursdays. So this week I want to talk about some different ways to approach refeeding. There are kind of pathology-specific methods for reintroducing nourishment that can be really helpful in re-regulating your digestive system if it's become dysregulated from either restrictive intake or interrupted digestion from either with laxatives or purgatives. So all of these things can really affect digestion, and then a lot of us will encounter a lot of distress on refeeding. So there are some proponents and some opponents of like allowing safe foods in recovery, like foods that you're comfortable eating. I personally think it's not necessarily a bad thing. If it's very triggering for you, that's fine, but especially if you are, like a lot of the people on this team are struggling with allowing nourishment right now. And so having foods that you're comfortable with can be like really helpful. And so basically I think that they can be good. Like foods that you're comfortable eating can be good, especially when reintroducing nourishment. I agree with food challenges and stuff, but in my experience and the research I've done and the people I've talked to, when people go inpatient and are encouraged to or mandated to start eating very frightening things, very calorie-rich things, it just becomes refeeding can become such a negative or an even traumatic experience. So I think, especially if you're doing this on your own, it's really important to find things you are comfortable eating and then make sure that you don't slip into that pathological thinking of reduction. Your goal would be to gradually increase and add new foods and hopefully challenge yourself to incorporate more variety and increase your caloric intake. With the types of foods, I think it is important, especially early in recovery, to allow yourself to eat things that you are comfortable with. So I have a whole repertoire of foods that are good for re-regulating digestion, good for blood sugar stabilization, healthy, good protein, good nourishment. So I'm going to share all of that. A lot of people in their disease end up consuming liquids only without solids, and they get really uncomfortable with solid food, or having a problem with the volume of food because the full feeling or the distended feeling is very uncomfortable for you. A couple things that can help are reintroducing solids following like a clinical protocol. So there's like different ways that food is reintroduced to the system. And this is also really good for like bulimics who are, or purging anorectics who aren't keeping much down, aren't able, like allowing their digestive system to work, or are interrupting that with purgatives and laxatives. So there's this protocol that for the first day or two you do like clear fluids, like juices you can see through. Clear juices like apple juice, cranberry juice is really good. And then broth, like chicken broth, or if you're a vegetarian, they have vegetable broth actually. Just really simple food introduction that's easy to digest. Like that's the key, is to gradually get the GI tract stimulated again. And this following this protocol can be really helpful for people with eating disorders and GI distress and like digestive issues. So you can do that, and then when it's time to incorporate solids again, traditionally clinicians would recommend or at least historically, would recommend a diet called the BRAT diet, which stands for bananas, rice, applesauce, and toast. Basically, it's like a bland diet to reintroduce, like after gastroenteritis or chronic diarrhea or something. So this would be just for a few days, just to see, like, just to kind of get your body used to making food go through again. This isn't nutritionally complete, so it's kind of come out of favor a bit for, especially like in treatment of pediatric patients. But there's this alternative now called CRAM, the CRAM diet. And this is, let's see, cereal, rice, applesauce, and milk, since it may add more complete protein and needed fat into the diet. Easy to digest foods and plenty of liquids, including or rehydration therapy like electrolytes. Okay, yeah. So, these things can be used like at the beginning, like if you're trying to do like a refeed at home, or if you're bulimic and you're trying to re-regulate your GI tract, then things like this can help. So these are just a couple examples of like foods you can try and reintroduce for that. And everybody's different. And then once you feel like you're actually digesting things and moving your bowels, fiber can help with that too, but it's really important to remain hydrated enough. But a lot of people suffer from like delayed gastric emptying as a result of like GI dysregulation from eating disorder stuff. So fiber's kind of a iffy thing. Like if you don't have an issue with fluid restriction, just go easy on it, because it can cause some distress if you're not used to that going through. So other than that, kind of a general rule, like without GI distress, like, is if you get that fullness equals fat feeling symptom, which is like really common for a lot of us, I think, like as soon as that hunger signal goes away, it's like panic, like this isn't comfortable, and we associate like satiety with we've eaten too much. Get used to hunger as our baseline, which is like a really bad way to think and stuff. But people I know, like upon like refeeding or reintroducing snacks and meals, one of the things that happens in treatment is the caloric load is so high, so fast, that a lot of people get like kind of traumatized by having to not only like refeed, but refeed and then some, because of the weight that needs to be restored. So, and then just the requirement that you have to do it no matter how uncomfortable you are, and just there's a lot of people who get really uncomfortable, and this kind of reinforces a lot of food fears. So one of the things that I find really helpful is to find calorie dense foods that you don't have to eat a ton of. If you're able to like get your head around that, like some people do better with smaller portions, like it's psychologically easier and obviously physiologically for digestion if you're not used to eating large amounts of food. Calorie dense foods can be good because you don't have to eat a lot to get nourishment. And for me, this is like a huge issue because I have chronic nausea, and like if I have too much or I get too distended, then it's a very bad situation. So like I really like eating little bits more often, and so you never get that horrible like bloated, distended feeling. And so I thought I would share like a whole bunch of foods that I love, but I'm gonna actually make a separate video for that, and I'll link you guys, because otherwise this is gonna be way too long. But yeah, so I just thought I'd share like some approaches to refeeding. So I guess just to conclude, because I've kind of meandered all over the place, fluid, 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 that's like the most important thing. I know, like, in people who purge, like, this is a big fear because afterward you swell from fluid retention. But the rule is fluid pushes fluid, and it might sound counterintuitive, but if you're retaining water, you need to drink more fluid to push that retention out. The thing is that your body's going, oh my god, like, we're dehydrated, I have to hold on to every little bit of water that's in here. But if you flush, you give your body enough fluid, then it will not retain like that. So hydration is really important. Also, if you purge, electrolytes are critical. This is also important for anorexics who fluid restrict and or anybody who exercises a lot, like orthorexics or exercise purging bulimics. Not replacing electrolytes is like, that's the number one thing, because electrolyte imbalance, like if you don't have enough salt, like people get really afraid of salt, you need salt, like that regulates blood osmolarity, and you actually need a certain amount of sodium for your brain to function, and if you don't get enough, you can go into a coma and die. So seriously, like salt phobics, like you have to have salt, you need it in your body, it's very important. Other electrolytes, potassium, calcium, these are important for muscle function and heart function. So when you hear people say, like, you need to replenish your electrolytes, it really is critical. This is probably, like, I was watching a study recently, or a documentary recently, on that often the sickest patients that this one clinician was seeing were ENOS patients, people that aren't, meeting the diagnostic criteria for anorexia or bulimia, but were often the sickest, and a lot of deaths that happen because of ED related, like in bulimia and ENOS especially, were electrolyte imbalances that ended up, like, if you don't have enough potassium, you could have fatal heart rhythm. So there's just, like, electrolytes are your number one most important thing. Even if you're having a hard time with food, please get enough electrolytes. Like, if calories scare you, there's low-cal options like Pedialyte, which is a rehydration solution made for children. But if you want, like, an adult version that isn't a lot of calories, Vitamin Water Zero has certain electrolytes and vitamins, like, to replenish. Probably the best one is G2, which is Gatorade's low-calorie version, and that'll have a lot of salt and some sugar in there, which you also need. So if you've been fasting, or if you're really having a hard time with any intake at all, an electrolyte-rich fluid would be really good for you. And then after that, clear fluids, and then after that, like a day or two of that, reintroduce easy to digest foods like the BRAT protocol. That's not meant for long term though, like I said, it's not nutritionally complete. And then CRAM is a little more nutritionally balanced. And also, like, when they were recommending the dairy products, if you eat dairy, the live active cultures will help to re-regulate your digestive system as well. So those things can be helpful. So yeah, if you guys have any questions about any of this, or like need suggestions for refeeding and stuff, I will do my best to try and help you. And the best thing would be to see a nutritionist though. But yeah, if you guys just want some anecdotal advice, I'm totally willing to help you guys try and come up with some good food choices for that. So I'm gonna make another video with all the yummy foods that I love, and then yeah, you can watch that if you want to. Alright guys, that's it for this week. Be well, precious ones. Much love. Bye guys.